Welcome to the Sacramento County Concur Request and Expense Training. This training will cover the Concur basics, how to set up your profile, requests, request approvals, travel, expense reports, expense approvals, mobile features, training and help, and other travel items. Benefits of using Concur Request and Expense. There's faster processing time, it cuts out paper waste, physical receipts will no longer be required, expense and approval reports can be done anywhere, anytime, you can track where your request and expense report is in the process, there is better visibility from travel request to expense, automation will help with travel policy and guidelines, the smartphone apps will allow on-the-road and out-of-office uploads of receipts as well as approvals, and departments no longer need to park expense reports in Compass. When to use Concur. Use Concur to replace all manual travel requests and expense reports. Do not use Concur for mileage reports, employee purchases such as boots and education, or business meetings. You must have a Compass vendor account in order to use Concur Request and Expense. A ZMMV request needs to be completed to get a vendor number if you don't already have one. Allow for a 2-day turnaround. Here's the travel process flow. The department head approves if required. Logging into Concur. Link to Concur through your ESS page with travel management link, the travel.saccounty.net while in the intranet, or you can use www.concurrsolutions.com. Your username is your county email address. For your first sign-on through concurrsolutions.com, click on the Forgot Your Password link to set your password for the first time. Logging into Concur. Link to Concur through your ESS page with SSO. You're just going to want to click that Travel Management tab. If you are having trouble logging into Concur, you can go to the service status at www.concurrsolutions.com to see if there are any problems with the system. Check the system status here. You can subscribe to updates and have notifications sent to your email on outages if you wish. Concur homepage. Under the Company Notes section, we'll post important things you need to know, including links to the County Department of Finance travel page and additional Concur trainings. The homepage gives you lots of information, various ways to start a new request or expense report, and or view your request and expense reports. The screen will look different for different users depending on what access you have. Click the top left-hand Concur button when you are in any of the other sections, and it will bring you back to the home page. Click the top right Profile button to change your profile, and under My Tasks, if you are an approver, this section will tell you if you have any requests or expense reports that you need to approve. Updating your profile. After clicking on your profile in the home page, a box will pop up that allows you to change your profile settings, act as another user if you have this permission, or sign out. Everyone should update their profile when they first sign into the system by clicking on Profile Settings. Updating your profile. Personal information. Update with work address, home address, and contact information. Change password. Your password can be changed at any time, and you can add a password hint. Request and expense preferences. Change your selections as to when you will see emails for status changes of your items. Expense delegates. Assign staff to prepare, submit, review, and receive emails on your behalf. Important. Make sure that your personal information section has your legal name that matches to your IDs for airline ticketing purposes. Updating your profile, email addresses. You can update your profile to have emails go to more than your county email address. Just as a note, if you use your personal email address, your manager will be able to see it when status emails are sent out. Make sure to verify your county email address. This will let you email receipts and plans to Concur. Updating your profile, delegates. Travelers can assign others to be able to perform certain tasks. Set up your delegates by clicking on Add, choosing a Concur user or approver, and then selecting which things they will be able to perform for you. Click on Save to keep your changes. You can add more than one delegate. Approvers will have more options than travelers who are not approvers. If a traveler has a delegate set up to prepare requests and expense reports, the traveler will still need to go into Concur and accept and submit the information, agreeing to the final review confirmation agreement. When a delegate is set up, the delegate can act on behalf of the traveler. From any screen, click into Profile. You will then see the area that says Acting as Other User. For requests and expense reports, select Act as User in Assigned Group. Put in the name you are going to act on behalf of and select that person. Click on Start Session. You will now be able to prepare requests and expense reports, but you will not be able to submit the report. Only the traveler can do that. To quit acting on behalf of a traveler, go back to Profile and click on Done Acting for Others. Requests. Request and Concur replaces your current manual request approval process. You must have an approved request in Concur in order to create and submit an expense report. There are various ways to start a request. Header. Complete all mandatory fields. These have a red bar on the left-hand side. Make sure to confirm your cost object type and cost object ID. These fields will be either cost center, internal order, or WBS and will default from your HR profile. If you select Other as your trip purpose, you will need to complete the additional purpose details box with why you are taking this trip. Cash advance. When completing your request, if you are asking for a cash advance, the cash advance section needs to be completed on the request header screen. The comment box should include what items you are requesting a cash advance for. Your cash advance should only equal the items you are expecting to personally pay for, such as meals and in some cases, hotels. See the travel policy for when it is appropriate to request a cash advance. Requests. Errors. Click on Save to save the header information and if everything is completed. If there is an error in this information, you will get an error information line that tells you what needs to be corrected. A red circle means that this is a hard stop error and you can sometimes move on to other areas, but you will not be able to submit your report until this error is resolved. A yellow caution sign means that there is something that needs to be paid attention to, but you will still be able to submit your report without any corrections. In this case, this request would need to have additional purpose details completed before being allowed to submit the request. Segments. Completing the information in the Segments tab is recommended if you have air travel, hotel stay, or a car rental. This will give your manager and travel coordinator the most information to be able to approve and/or book your trip. The segments are not mandatory, and all requested expenses can just be input on the Expenses tab. All fields with a red bar on the left side are mandatory fields. Once your segment has been completed, click on the Save at the bottom of the page and go to the other segments of the trip or to the Expenses tab to include other items such as meals and mileage. Estimated expenses. Your segments included in the Segments tab will show up here after saving. Next, click on the expenses to the right to include things like meals, taxis, etc. Once you have included all of your expected expenses, 1. Make sure you don't have any warnings that need to be corrected, and 2. Check for your approval flow by going into Approval Flow tab. Confirm this includes your correct approvers, and if it does, click the Submit button. If not, you can change your first approver and then submit your request. Your first approver should be your manager. Your second approver should be your travel coordinator. If your travel coordinator isn't already set up in your profile, they will not show as your second approver. Your first approver will need to select the travel coordinator when they are approving your request in this case. Final review. When your request is complete and you click on Submit Request, you will get the final review message. Please read the confirmation agreement carefully before clicking on Accept and Submit. Status. Travelers can see where their requests are at any time by clicking into Requests from the home page. Approvals. Once submitted, the request will be sent to the first approver, usually your manager. The manager will receive an email letting them know that they have a request for approval. When they log in, they will see that there are items that require approval. When approving, make sure you select the correct tab and you will see any open requests to approve. Click on the request name to go to the request to review it. As first approver, manager, make sure you review all tabs. The notifications will give you information you should pay special attention to. In this case, it's telling you that you will be approving a cash advance in addition to approving the requested travel. If the information is not correct, you can send the request back to the traveler by clicking on the Send Back Request button, which will open a comment box to complete to let the traveler know why their request is being sent back. Make sure to go to the Expense Summary tab to review all costs associated with the requested travel. If there is no travel coordinator in the traveler's profile, the manager will need to add the travel coordinator in the Approval Flow tab. Additional approvers can also be added. Once reviewed and everything looks acceptable with the request, you can approve the request. After the manager has approved, the request goes to the travel coordinator for review, and the same process should be followed for approval. The travel coordinator should review all information. The cash advance amount needs to be reviewed to make sure the cash advance is for the expected expenses to be paid by traveler only. If changes need to be made, the travel coordinator can send back the request to the traveler with comments as to why it is being sent back. If the request is acceptable, the travel coordinator can click on Approve and then book the travel for the traveler as needed. After manager and the travel coordinator approves the request, if there is no cash advanced on the request is complete. After travel has occurred, the request needs to be used to complete the expense report. If there is a cash advance on the request will move forward to the processor for review and release of the cash advance. The request should then be used to prepare the expense report once travel is completed. Travel. After a travel coordinator has approved a request, they may then book the travel for that traveler. There is no change to the current process for booking travel. Expense reports. Creating an expense report. There are various ways to create your expense report. If your request has an action of expense on the right-hand side, it is available to create an expense report off of. You can click on the word expense and then it will take you to a new expense report header. Or on your home page, you can go into various areas to create your expense report. Click on Expense and you will see all of your open expense reports. Click on Create New Report to start your new expense report. All expense reports must have a request attached. If you did not start your expense report from your request, in the Requests section, click on Add. Select the available requests that you are ready to create your expense report off of. Click on Add to attach it. Your header information will flow to the expense report from your request. You can see the request information at the bottom. All mandatory fields should already be completed from the request. Review your information, change what is incorrect, click on Next to start entering your expenses. Creating an expense report per diem. An itinerary is required to calculate the meals that will be reimbursed on a per diem basis. Complete all required fields, highlighted in red, for all the departure information of your trip. Click on Save and then complete the same information for the return part of your trip and click Save. After putting in the return information on your trip, click on Save and you will see your newly created itinerary. Click on Next for the next step. After clicking Next, you will get a screen with your available itineraries with the one you just created attached to this expense report. Click on the Next button. You will now see your days of travel and what meals are included during that period of time. If there are meals you will not be claiming the per diem for, such as meals provided by a conference or meals that are not part of the travel time, click the meal boxes that you will not be claiming. This will reduce your daily allowance by that meal allowance amount. Click on Create Expenses to save this information to your report and to be able to continue adding expenses. Creating an expense report. Your per diem meals have now been created for you. You can continue adding expenses in for other items such as airfare, hotel, car rental, or other by clicking on the categories under All Expense Types. If you are being reimbursed at per diem rates, do not include any incidentals since they are not part of your per diem rates. Whatever category you are adding expenses for, make sure you complete all required fields, highlighted with a red bar. Make sure your payment type is correct. If the county is paying for the expense on a county credit card, company paid should be selected. Airfare is typically company paid. If you are paying on a personal credit card, select the payment type of cash. Any expense category that has a request amount will show that requested amount here. With a few exceptions, expenses need to have a receipt attached. Examples of exceptions are per diem meals, daily incidental $5, and parking less than $10. An expense report cannot be submitted without required receipts. Exception is the missing receipt affidavit. If a receipt is required and you have not attached one, you will get a red error and will not be able to submit your expense report until this is completed. There are various ways to attach a receipt. You can attach a receipt from a scanned copy in your computer, taking a picture in the Concur app, or taking a picture of it through Expensit Pro. These can easily be imported into your expense report. Apps will be covered more later in the presentation. Receipts sent in through the apps can be found in the Available Expense tab of Concur. The top item is from the Expensit app and loads most of the information in automatically. The bottom receipt is from the Concur app and will need to have all of the information input when using this receipt. If you are attaching a receipt that you have saved to your computer, click on the Attach Receipt button and follow the directions to upload it with your expense report. If you have receipts that you want to use through one of the apps, such as Concur or Expensit Pro, once you have taken a picture and the app added it without errors, you can import them into your expense report. Click on Import Expenses and select the expenses that belong to this expense report. Click on Move and move it to the current report. If the receipts import with errors, fix the errors and then click on Save. In this case, we need to change public transport to taxi and put in the city of purchase. No receipt also needs to be changed to receipt. Continue adding in all of your expenses until everything is accounted for. Once all of your expenses are in, you can see a summary of the total cost of your trip. This will also show you what you did not spend from your cash advance if you received one. Check your approval flow under Details, and if your first approver is blank, fill in the name of your travel coordinator. If you have no cash advance balance due, no errors that need to be corrected, and no additional expenses to add, you can submit your expense report by clicking on Submit Report. If you have an outstanding advance amount still open, you need to account for that in your report. Click on the Cash Advance Return line under All Expense Types. Put in the amount of the cash advance being returned and click on Save. Once your outstanding advance is zero, you have no errors to correct, and all of your expenses are included, you can submit your report. If you have a cash advance return amount, please submit the payment to your travel coordinator. When your expense report is complete and you click on Submit Report, you will get the final review message. Please read the confirmation agreement carefully before clicking on Accept and Submit. Once you've clicked on Accept and Submit, you will get a pop-up box telling you that your report was successfully submitted and give you a summary of your expense report. You can print or email your report at any time by being in your report and clicking on the Print Email option. For the traveler, by clicking on Expense, you can see your open expense reports and their status. The one we just created shows us that it is in pending approval by COS approver, who is in this case the manager. You can also see a different view by clicking on Report Library. This will show you your processed reports. Travelers can see where their expense reports are in the process at any time. After the travel coordinator approves the expense report, an email notification will go to the approving manager that they have an expense report to approve. The manager should review the expense report, and if acceptable, click on the Approve button. If there are issues or questions with the report, the manager or travel coordinator may send the report back to the employee to make changes. They should complete the comment box to the traveler as to why it is being sent back so they can make corrections. This will send the report back through the approval process again. After the manager has approved the expense report, the report will forward to the DOF Travel Desk processor. The processor will review the report and either send it back to the traveler if corrections need to be made or approve it. Once approved, a file runs overnight to load the expense report details into Compass. The payment due to the traveler, if there is one, will then be automatically processed. Mobile apps. In the Concur mobile app, you can approve requests and expense reports on your mobile device as long as the manager and travel coordinator approvers were assigned in the profile when the request or expense report was created. You can create expense reports, but the report must be initiated before the trip date. You cannot use the app at this time to create a request. You can take a picture of your receipt and export it to your Concur account. It also analyzes receipts to help you create your expense report. You can send itineraries booked outside of Concur to plans@concur.com. You must have verified your email address in your profile to use this. You can email receipts to Concur at receipts@concur.com. This will not include details of your receipt, but will make the image available to attach to your expense report. To use this, you must have verified your county email address in your Concur profile. Another mobile app to try is TripIt Pro. It gives you detailed daily itineraries. You can receive reminders and real-time flight alerts throughout your trip. You can receive gate change information and also get notified if a better seat becomes available. It provides you with helpful reminders and can track reward points and miles. Training and help. By clicking on Help and then Training, you'll go to the Concur training site. By clicking on this link, where it says Concur Training Toolkit, you'll go to the Concur training website. By clicking on Help and then Training, you'll get to this page, which has guides and training videos to help. You'll also have the Department of Finance contacts information for additional assistance. By clicking on the plus sign, it will expand so you can see training videos pertaining to specific areas of Concur. Who to contact for help. Send an email to Department of Finance travel@saccounty.net. Other travel items. Travel advances. Unused cash advances must be returned by 10 days after the last day of travel. Advances not returned by 60 days will be deducted from your payroll. Expense reports. Per federal regulations, you must adequately account for your travel expenses within a reasonable period of time in order for the county to be in an accountable plan. You are required to account for all of your travel expenses within 60 days. Any expense reports that are submitted 61 plus days after the last day of travel will be considered income and taxed as such through payroll. Expense reports. All expense reports must be submitted within a year of your travel date, or it will not be processed for payment per Government Code Section 911.2. Here is a list of additional topics that we will be covering. Actuals for meals for specific departments. A few departments are being paid actuals for meals, not a daily per diem rate. These departments need to submit receipts for every meal, and they will be paid for the actual amount of the meal up to the daily per diem rate. Create your request and start your expense report as usual. After completing the header and clicking on Next, you will get the itinerary screen. You will see that the selection box says COS, Actual Meal Expenses. This means you are in a department that has been directed to be paid the lesser of actuals or per diem. Complete the itinerary with the required information. Make sure after completing the information on your travel to your destination, you click on Save to go to the screen to put in the return part of your trip. After putting in the return part of your trip, click on Save. If your itinerary looks correct and there are no more destinations, click on Next. This will show you your assigned itinerary. If it looks okay, go to Next. This will bring up a screen for you to be specifying which meals you are not allowed to be compensated for because the meal was provided or the meal was not allowed due to your travel times. Click the meal boxes that you will not be paid for. In this example, our travel is for the whole day and no meals are provided. So we are claiming all 3 meals and will not check any of the boxes. Click on Create Expenses. Now you will be able to start putting in your expenses and attaching your receipts. For your meals, select each meal to start putting in that information. Because the system allows you to be paid the lower of actuals and the per daily per diem rate, you can see that although the cost of the meals and incidentals was $105, the system is only allowing me to be paid $64 since that is the daily per diem rate. Finish adding your expenses for your trip, save, and submit your report when completed. Note, if the actuals paid for your meals were lower than that per diem amount, you would be paid what you actually spent. Adding approvers. Travelers cannot add additional approvers into the workflow, but approvers can. In this example, the travel coordinator approved the expense report. The manager is approving the expense report as well, but would like to add another approver to the workflow. The approver should go into the expense report, click on Details, click on Approval Flow. Then they should click on the plus sign next to the approval for processing, which allows you to add a step before the approval for processing step. This will bring up another box to add in additional approvers. Click in this box and select how you want to search approvers by. Start typing in the box to bring up your available options. Select the next approver. Once the additional approver is selected, you can click on Save Workflow to save this additional approver for this expense report. Travelers or approvers can change the request or expense report approver. Go to the approval flow and click in the box with the approver you need to change. You can search for your approver by different methods. Once you select how you want to search for the new approver, you can start typing in the information for that person and the available selections will come up. In this case, I selected to search by email addresses and have 2 options available. Select the correct option and then you can submit your report or save the workflow to submit your report later. Please make sure you review the Department of Finance travel policy. This covers approving authority for travel. Travel requests must be approved in advance by the department head or his or her designee. This policy covers travel outside the United States, candidates' travel expenses for selected employment interviews, entities doing or seeking to do business with the county, and same-day travel transportation. For those request expense reports needing county executive approval, the approval will not be done through Concur. Get the required approval from the county executive on paper and attach that to the Concur request before submitting. To attach, go to Attachments and Attach Documents. The approval flow will then go from traveler to manager to travel coordinator to department head. Email notifications. You can go in and change your email notifications in your profile settings under Request Preferences and Expense Preferences. Automatic emails will be sent whenever the status of your requests or expense reports change. These are the ones that can be turned off by you. There are other emails that cannot be turned off, and those can be found below. Here are some examples of email notifications. Google Maps to calculate car mileage. When completing your expense report, click on Personal Car Mileage under Transportation in all expense types. The mileage calculator will come up. Put the addresses that you are traveling to and from. One of your waypoints should be your office in order to take out your work commute. This will calculate your mileage to your destination. Click on Add Mileage to Expense. Finish filling in the mandatory fields with the red bar on the left side of them. Click on Save to add to your expense report. Missing receipt affidavit. If you are missing a receipt, you may use a bank statement or credit card statement for your receipt. If you cannot provide either of those, you must complete a missing receipt affidavit and provide a memo from your department head. For the missing receipt affidavit, click on Receipts, Missing Receipt Affidavit. This will take you to a pop-up box where you need to select the item that has a missing receipt. Click on Accept and Create to create the affidavit. After you have created the missing receipt affidavit, you must now attach the memo from your department head. Save this memo as a PDF file on your computer. Go to Receipts, attach receipt images, and browse for the memo from your department head. Select it and then click on Upload and then Close. If you go to Receipts, Review Receipts, you will see the memo from your department head that you attached as well as the missing receipt affidavit. Here is an example of system-generated missing receipt affidavit. Canceled trip after cash advance was received. If you had a trip that had been canceled, but you had received a cash advance, the cash advance needs to be cleared out in Concur. Start a new expense report and attach the request per the usual process. Instead of adding any expenses to your report, only add the line for cash advance return under the cash advance section. Complete the cash return amount for the full amount of cash advance received and click on Save. Submit your report. Provide a return payment to your travel coordinator who will forward it on to the DOF travel desk. Personal travel. If you have personal travel expenses as part of your county travel, you need to show the part of your trip that is personal so that it will not be reimbursed. When completing your request header, make sure to complete the days of personal travel that is part of your trip. When completing the expected expenses for your trip in the request, include only those costs that are attributable to county business. Start your expense report as normal. The header screen should show up with your personal travel dates already included. When adding in your expenses, you need to mark the personal travel ones as such. We'll show the hotel costs as an example and assume the whole hotel bill was paid by your personal credit card. The hotel bill was for the whole trip and the invoice has all of the nights, both personal and business. First, add a line in for your business part of the trip and attach your receipt. Click on Save once entered. Next, Add in all of the same information, but this time for the personal days that were charged on the invoice. Make sure to click on Personal Expense, Do Not Reimburse box. Click on Save once completed. Once you've finished marking your personal costs, your hotel costs should equal the total of the invoice. You'll see that the amount requested is now lower than the total amount due to the reduction in the personal expenses. You do not need to include items like personal meals in your expense report. Only include those personal items that make up one invoice, like hotels. Conference registration. When you are traveling for a conference, make sure you still work with the Workforce Development Unit to make sure that your registration fees are paid. They will not be paid through Concur. Make sure to include a copy of the registration form with your request and expense report when travel is being done to go to these conferences. To include attachments to a request, fill out your request header, add your expenses, click on Attachments, and attach documents. Close, inactivate requests. If you travel frequently and you have been using Concur for a while, you'll end up with a long list of requests. To clean up your list so that you only have your new requests, go into Requests to get a listing of all of your requests. Only do this if you no longer need the requests. It is recommended that you do this for items over 30 to 60 days, just in case any expenses were missed originally. Select the completed request that you are ready to close by checking the box in front of the request. Click on the Close Inactivate Request tab. You will get a notification box pop up and click on Yes. You will still be able to see the closed requests by clicking on the View button. Select Closed Inactivated Requests. This will then show you only your closed inactivated requests. Just go to View and Active Requests again to see your current requests. Thank you for taking the Concur Request and Expense training. If you have any questions, please contact dof-travel@saccounty.net.